Tim and criminal.
Yeah, right. Okay. Now this is how long has it taken? It's only about 2 or 3 months, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're back. I said we'd be back. This is a lovely timber frame. Well, what's left of a timber frame, and we're now back to it's changed hands, and here we are. We're just starting to open up. Actually, I'll get Jeff just to hold it, and I'm just gonna open up a little bit more. He can watch.
Got it.
But this is what not to do. You do not put cement on a timber frame. And I think you can see here now that as we take this off, we have I can't actually believe, looking at this, that people do this. It's beyond comprehension, really. This used to be a timber frame building. There's the original plinth. You can see there's a brick plinth underneath here, and it's built with lime. So you can see the lime mortar just emerging from underneath it. So that's what the frame was actually built on. And even, you know, if we just try and, there we go. I'll check. Actually exposing that, it's not particularly old brick. It might be 1950s or 60s brick. Yeah, there's still a bit of cement in there. That is actually cement. So even this plinth has been fiddled with. That is cement. But if we get back to the timber, that's the sill beam, or what's left of it. I've just never seen, well, no, I have seen. Do you know what? There is still a bit of timber in there. A lot of it's rotten, but if we take a bit more of the you can now see parts of it emerging. I don't know whether this is facing pieces on. I think it is. Yep. Here we go. It's just this was done a while ago. That's not oak. You can see from the pattern in here, it's quite a fine pattern of grain, and you've got beetle holes right the way through it. This actually, I think, is elm. But just look at the typical. It's been squidged up with anything and everything that you could squish around it. And what they've done here, so we've got a there you go, that's an elm board on top of brick, and the brick is actually sitting, if you look, on top of this. This is the original sill beam. And this is how to cause, without putting too fine a point on it, this is how to cause a house to fall down, because if you've got the weight of the house here sitting on top of the sill beam, and then the sill beam rots away underneath it.
That's criminal.
There's just nothing left of it. And this is all because somebody has used cement. So what we're doing is just looking at the extent of the rot. and trying to figure whether there's still any usable timber in here. The English Heritage Guidelines are that you would normally look at 75-25, so if there's more than 75% of the timber gone, you replace entirely. If there's less than 75%, you try and plate it and put a piece of timber in so you keep the original. And inside here, inside the house, we've got original timber. So what I'm hoping to do is actually plate any of the repairs. Now this is modern and it's replacing what was here. So what we hope is that we can actually replace this with some new timber and put proper panels in here. I think most of this is going to turn out to be brick. If we have a go, yeah, there we go. It's all brick. So I think what we've got is a brick facade with pieces of timber on the front, and there's no listed building consent for any of this, so it's been done at some point very roughly, not particularly well. So we're going to have options here. We can take the brickwork out, we can put a new frame in, or we can say, you know what, it's just brick now, so take this out, brick it up and put some lime render on the front. Actually, we don't quite know what we're going to do. There's going to be a lot of options to play with, but suffice to say it's not exactly the cheapest of things to do. So we've got options. I'm surprised to find this is elm, and it's quite unusual that you would have elm boarding on a building like this when it's been done with brick. That's very definitely elm, and you can see you've got beetle hole right the way through it, and you wouldn't get beetle hole in oak like this because this is hard heartwood timber, and you only get beetle hole like this in elm. Normally in oak, if you got beetle, they would be just in the sapwood, in the outside. They don't attack the centre of the timber. And if you look at this, there's actually not a lot of beetle in this. This is the oak heartwood, and there's no beetle at all. It's not been beetle attacked, but it has been very wet, and you've got this cuboidal fracturing, which is from rot. It's just pure timber decay. There's just nothing left of it. So that's just standard wet rot. But I don't know if you can. That's actually quite hard. So what we're doing, we've taken the rot off, and you can see that the rot goes in like that, and it's been, because if you look here, the cement on the outside is trapping water and moisture. So behind the cement it's all rotten, and then as you go a little bit further back, it's actually quite hard. So it's not completely gone, and the reason the house hasn't fallen down is because some of this timber is still there. We can knock a chisel into it, and it actually, that's fairly solid. It's still breaking bits off it, but it's getting harder. So it's not the end of the world yet. And there's a lot more to discover about this house as well. Like all of this, I think every single piece of it is probably planked on. But we'll do little sections. This is one, and then we'll do another section up there, and we'll see just how much of it actually is solid and how much of it is just planked on timber. So start again. Right, so chimney on the end, which means the first upright in, that's that one in the middle, is the end of the building. And then we work our way along. We've got one vertical there which we don't know about. We've got another one there which we've actually got the original timber, and it's looking like we can save that upright. Then we move along and we've got another upright there, so that's two originals at the moment that we've got with a completely rotted sill beam, but that's not as bad as I thought it might be. And then if we move back out, you can see there's a chimney. Now I think but the section to the right hand side of that chimney is another bay that's been added on much later. So I reckon that what we're going to find down here, and we're just going to have a hack I've started at the base of that vertical. I think we're going to find some sort of a joint either there or there. So we're just taking off here. It's not very hard to take it off. I'll zoom out a bit. And this is unbelievable stuff. People do things to buildings. Several generations of cement render. God. There is our sill beam. Now then, you can see somebody's, looks like a piece of Victorian really needs somebody else holding this, but we've got what's left of a sill beam. I think we'll just expose this so we can map it first. You've got people stuffing things in. This is probably cement or gypsum. Oh look, yeah. This is builder mentality. We'll shove a bit of concrete in and we'll damp proof it. We'll even put a little bit of damp proofing membrane under it just to make sure that it doesn't get wet. What? Oh my god. There we go. So we've got a builder repair there. But fact is, we got sill beam and there's still a little bit of timber there. But we don't quite know what's under here, but I think just what we may find we've got underneath this now that's probably your telephone, isn't it?
Yes.
Sure we don't.
Anyone pop next to them as well, so it's a few
Can't find the front door key as well.
Just get that. Right.
Same thing with that.
Now then, okay folks, so yet again we've got original timber and we can see peg holes here, and I think I can't see a joint in there yet, but that is connected very nicely, and that's the original sill beam here. So we've got slightly better, well, when I say preservation, I mean it's got tree roots and everything, but we can see the original vertical, we can see the sill beam. No matter how bad that sill beam is, I mean that actually is quite good timber. So my feeling is that we can certainly apply Historic England guidelines here, and we might be able to face some of this. So we can actually cut this back a little bit probably going about 50 mil, and that would take us then, if we clean out underneath, this bit is gone, but I think we might be able to get a 50 mil face on it. It's well rotted underneath, so at the end of the day you've got to defer to the skill of the timber framers as to whether they think they can save it. They may be able to put a section on even underneath, square this off, put a piece on underneath, and then leave this as the original frontage. So there'll be a little bit of discussion with the framers as to exactly how we sort this out. And then here we've got a similar situation. You can see what people have done progressively. Every time somebody sees a bit of rot, they come in and they stick cement under it. And there's a cement repair with a bit of old tile stuck in it, and of course cement repairs just encourage the whole thing to rot. But actually some of this is solid. It doesn't look that solid, but if you, it's got a bit of heart to it. There's something in there. And the art of restoration is to try to save as much of this as we can. This is history. It's been here probably 300 years. So we're going to try and give this the best chance it's got of surviving. We know that inside the building, the other side of this piece of timber is actually there. You can see it inside the building. It's exposed. So we don't want to take out that part of the sill beam. We want to leave the original historic sill beam internally. So I think what we're going to end up trying to do is to take out a slice where it's rotted underneath to support it, and then face it, and then see if we can repair these other timbers. Another one here, that's quite a solid piece, but it's not quite as solid as you think. Nope, there's another one, look. There we go. And that upright, if you look, he's not in bad shape. So when you come down there, and you can actually see the original timber behind it. That's a good solid piece of timber. Listen to the sound of that, that's hard. So I think it's a repairable frame. I think we've got elements of the original frame that are still there and we can use them. It's going to be a complicated job, but
It's doable.
I think it's doable, yeah. I mean, Nick here is our conservation architect. You've seen as bad or worse, haven't you?
Well, the ice cream parlour wasn't very good, was it?
No. No. The ice cream parlour is a... Hello. And you can see, I mean, you know, this is the sort of stuff. Squidgies and squidgels of silicon sealant. Hello, we've got a leak, let's just squish some of this stuff in the hole, you know. It's you know, let's mix up barrow loads of concrete and throw it at the poor frame. And you can see here, as you work your way along, you've got almost a history of Wally Builder repairs. You know, other bits of cement, Victorian fixings. It rotted a bit, so we'll just shove in a bit of cement. But you know what? It's that bit of a frame there to me is, I don't know what we're opening up here, but there's actually more timber than we realise. Oh, there we go. So what we've got is much older brickwork. This is quite early brickwork. It's probably 18th, late 18th, early 19th century brickwork, laid in lime, beautiful, sitting on top of the timber frame, and you can see where it's sitting on the frame there's actually not a lot of damage. So, and then you've got this slightly cambered sill beam, and that's how it should have been. So actually what we're getting back to is some quite useful fabric, and it's really nice, and it's modern materials. It's this cement render, but there you go. And emerging from underneath all this render is this lovely, traditional, beautiful old building. This is probably not the original. This would have been a daub infill panel. Whether we can prove that is a different matter, I don't know. But I think conservation would be happy to allow that to stay as it is. What we don't want is modern brick with cement. But this is a breathable mix, and we can work with this, and we can make the house warm and dry, and this is not going to affect the sill beam. So what we've now got, as we sort of clean this up a little bit, we're starting to just look at that. And we're getting I love it, because you can actually see some real history emerging here. Let me just get a bit more of that off. Lovely old building. Another piece of timber frame. And again, lime brickwork. I'm greatly encouraged. 2 coats of cement render on here. You can see a dark layer and then a lighter layer. Aha! This is another repair that somebody's done. You can see that this bit is different, and behind it there's a metal mesh, so you've got yet more historical or modern builder bodges. So this is the end, and what's actually interesting is this brickwork is on a vertical. So you wonder whether perhaps there was an opening here or something, but that's actually a vertical wall of brickwork. But again, the interesting thing is that we've got, if you look at this, the frame is actually not too bad, and you can even see the shaping. See, these bits of timber have been added in. You can actually see that there is quite a pronounced shoulder on there, and underneath it it's not bad. So I think we've got a building here that we can save. This is really exciting stuff. I'm encouraged by this. I did the original survey and decided it just needed a whole new frame. But actually, when you look at it, there's recoverable stuff here. We can try and save sill beams, brickwork. This, pointed up and cleaned up, will look beautiful. So we just need to know now how much else modern, like this, is underneath it, and how much easily rectifiable stuff like that. That'll be a long story, but it looks good.
And cut. There you go. Oh, hello. Mike still.
So we're just now finishing off. We've spent a lot of time opening up the sill beam, folks, and what we've now discovered is the history of this building. And if you sort of look at it very carefully, you'll see that in that far corner we've got a very wide upright. That's the original corner post in the middle there. That's the corner to the original building. If we then have a look across the building, you probably won't quite get it yet, but you see that we have on the side of the doorway there, dead centre, another very wide piece of timber. Now then, if you zoom back out again, what we found is right behind the ladder there is a break in the plinth, and you can see where the base of a ladder is there. That is a break, and what it means is that this area here is actually a door. So you've got a corner post of the building, you've got one bay there, you've got a passageway and another bay there, and that up to there and across and down is the original front elevation of a thatched cottage. And then this bit here on the side is additions, and you'll see that the wall plate changes and there's a bit of a mess of timber, and we don't actually know whether that bit and that bit were built at different times, but definitely there's additions onto the building. But it's trying to unravel this history of the building that's giving us a little bit of a heads up on how we're going to do the repairs. We thought originally that this was going to be a whole replacement of the frame, but actually it's not bad. We're finding some very good pieces of timber in here. So it's a bit of a history of an opening up. If you look up there, you'll see that it looks a bit scraggy, but actually it's really good. And you can see there's a peg there with a joint, and a peg there and another joint, and that's fine. There's no problems with it. If you look to the bottom, well, you saw me hacking these things out, and there really isn't a great deal left of the bottom of these things. And if we come along here, you'll see the upright and the sill beam. It's not a very happy piece of timber at all. So that's all going to get replaced, I think. And then further down here we've got another sill beam, and this appears to have, in fact it does have a joint. If you look, you can see there's a lapped joint in the beam there. That comes along down there, so that's the lap joint, and it's got some sort of Victorian ironwork there just trying to hold the joint together. And then it goes gloriously downhill from there. You can see it sweeping off downhill, possibly because there's a drain, but you can see the whole thing is completely, I'll show you from further back and you'll see the roof line, but this whole corner has completely dropped. But in actual fact, it's nicely built. It's, I think, had water running down from the the downpipe, and it's been wetting the corner. So all of this timber here has been compromised, and you can see actually inside the house there, rotten timber, everything completely rotten down below. So you can see it goes off to nothingness in the corner, and then it's a little bit stronger. Interestingly, where we've got lime brickwork laid in lime, the timber underneath it is not bad, and that is a very good point to make to people, that even just with lime on the top, it's breathing that little bit better, and moisture can't build up. And even here, although we've lost a lot of the sill beam because the brickwork underneath is wet, the top section, the lime brickwork and the timber is good.
Oh, yeah.
That's solid timber. Then you come along here and you can see you've got modern brickwork, and it's laid in cement, and we've got a rotten, look at that, it's just completely, utterly rotten. Everything's gone because nothing can breathe. And here you've got modern brickwork, cement, rotten timber. So the story fits together quite well. One other, if you look at the roof line, yeah, you can see that roof line drops in the corner. So you see how that's pitching downwards, and that's reflecting very much what we've got in the corner here, the fact that it's tipping off at an angle. So it's good, there's a bit of character, there's not a problem. So there you go, that's a story of a day's opening up. And then Nick here is gonna, the next stage is
To prove there's a chimney on the inside, not on the edge.
no, it's not. And Nick is going to let me get my thoughts together. What's he going to do? He's going to do a set of existing plans and elevations which will be used for listed building consent application.
It'll identify any timbers that need replacing or facing, whatever, and what we're going to do with the infill panels.
Very good point. Well, we've got modern brickwork in some of the infills, and we've got old brickwork in some of the other infills. So what we've got to do is make a decision now about do we try and argue the fact that there's a lot of weight in this frame on some very old timber, and actually we prefer to put lightweight infills in order that we don't pull the frame around.
And raise the sill of that window possibly to reinstate the
And try, yeah, so
wall plate.
that what we were looking at was whether we can strengthen the frame by taking this through and take that window up, so that we actually strengthen the structure of the wall.
Reinstate what was there originally.
Yep.
We think.
And probably again on the other side, but we're not quite sure yet. But that's a little bit further in the future. We've got an emergency meeting requested with the conservation officer, and we'll update everybody once we've done that. And I hope this is going to start coming back to life fairly quickly. It's a beautiful building, and it's actually not in nearly as bad a condition as I thought it was when I first saw it. So cool. So that's it, over and out for now.